Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange. If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park.
After 7 events, it comes down to this. A classic of American sports car racing, Sebring will either shake them apart or strengthen their resolve. One thing's for certain, everyone better hold on because it's going to be a bumpy ride as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Sport Class live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Cameron Auburnon is on social media with Ryan Bauer producing while using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Before we get to the racing, Series 10 is brought to you by the Porsche Exchange, which has been family owned and operated for over 40 years. Located on the North Shore of Chicago, the Porsche Exchange has grown to be the largest volume Porsche dealer in the entire Midwest. Along the way, they've won the Porsche Premier Dealership Award for many years in a row and has been chosen to be one of the few Porsche exclusive manufacturer dealerships in the entire country. Find out more at 4Porsche.com or follow them on Instagram at Porsche Exchange. Also, Six Sigma Sim Racing is proud to announce the Season 10 Clean Driver Award. One driver in each PCA Sim Racing class will win a Six Sigma Sim Racing $250 merchandise gift certificate. This goes to whoever earns the fewest incident points and license penalty points from their best 6 races this season. For more information, head to sixsigmasimracing.com. Well, DJ, we've seen it twice already last week. This track is going to be difficult.
Yes, it is, Joe. And while in the sim world, we don't have to deal with the spinal compression that you do going over the bumps here at Sebring, it is still going to be a massive challenge for these drivers nonetheless. The bumps around here combined with the RSRs that we are running means you have got to be very, very careful on the throttle. Very easy to get a little bit of problems going on when you start to get on power. Look for the main overtaking opportunities going down into the hairpin. That's going to be about turn 6 or so. And then also down into Sunset and into turn 1. We can see some sneaky moves down into Cunningham or down into Tower, but those are going to be some very high percentage moves up at the front of the field. Other than that, it's all about keeping things together and not letting these bumps throw you offline.
Got to try and hold on to it. Now, the championship is well held on to. Daniel Nix is not here to compete, sadly, but as we know, he's already clinched it easily, as you can see by the points. Lee Binkley and Adam Gerling, though, they are still fighting for that second position, and there is not much between them. So that could easily swap around, though it's definitely more in Binkley's hands. He just has to make sure that he doesn't fumble it right at the goal line. Meanwhile, look at Gibson, Yokel, and Eskridge. There is all of about 33 points between those three. In fact, only 5 between Yokel and Eskridge. So that is going to be a hot potato between those three over the course of this race. Still a fight between Crummell and Palmer, as well as Boccieri and Boyer. So we got lots of intrigue to take place during the race. Now, a reminder that PCA Sim Racing social media offers in-race reports, breaking news, and announcements through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. To subscribe, key in the platform name and add /PCA Sim Racing. Well, as we take a quick glance before they wrap up in qualifying here, David Boyer currently with the provisional pole, but I see a couple drivers trying to get in there in these last couple minutes to improve, and it is extremely tight through many in the top 10, DJ. I see very few cars that are more than 1/10 of a second apart.
Yeah, it's very, very close there indeed. That margin that we always talk about, the 1 second mark, that is all the way down to 18th place as David Palmer makes a big jump up through the field there. Good run for him. Steve Comat's one of those drivers trying to improve. And I think here, Joe, one of the things that we've got to keep in mind is that the sun is setting. We are on actual time here as the sun's going to go down over the course of the running. That's going to cool the track down a little bit more. Hot tires, cool track, that's exactly the combination these drivers want to see.
Yeah, in the last two races that we witnessed, the sun does go below the horizon, so you're going to see the headlights on. Girling has improved up into third spot just recently. So top three about a tenth and a half apart from each other now. Binkley, I think he has enough time that he could respond. This lap not looking very quick, so he's going to have to try and make this one his last Hail Mary.
Yeah, he's going to have to really, really push for it here at this point and see what he's able to do. Very aggressive line there coming through turn one. He's now going to get the power down, focus on the braking here for turn two. As we ride on board, you can really see those bumps and shakes that are going to absolutely jostle the car over the course of a lap here.
About 16 seconds left. Oh, Kevin Yokel just took the pole over David Boyer. It's still tight, though. It is about half a tenth apart between them. He's going to park it up. He's happy with that one. But there could still be some drivers that manage to topple him here, as Mark Collingwood will be one of the first to take the checkered flag. He crosses the line, but it's not faster. He's just a couple hundredths off.
Oh, and that's got to be a real heartbreak there for Mark. He was the one that was sitting on the top of that scoring pylon for the majority of the session. Now finds himself all the way down in third. What can David Palmer do, though, from 10th place?
Palmer's showing about 3/10 down right now, so I'm not sure that this is going to be quicker. His best is a 57.899, which he set the previous lap. Here's the timing line, and as he comes across, it's not going to do it, unfortunately. Between Binkley and Girling, they're both out on a lap, but both are also showing a little bit slower. Girling's going to be the first up. In fact, he's almost a full second off of his best time.
Yeah, this doesn't look like a good one here for Adam, as the 248 is going to bring that car out of the final corner. Has to navigate through a little bit of traffic there, and you could see him back off as he came to the line. He knew that wasn't going to be a good one.
Binkley tracking about 7/10 down, so also looking unlikely that it'll go above this fifth position. Girling winds up fourth at the highest. And yeah, I'd say he's taking it slow here into the final corner. I don't think he's really pushing the car here at the end. What about Ankerberg Zona down in 32nd? He's also looking like he's not going to improve. Sometimes our timing and scoring can lie on that. So the number 8 is going to try and complete the lap regardless. Can he beat the 59.7? That's a no.
Not going to be able to do it there at that point, but who else? Looks like pretty much everybody is said and done here, Joe, as qualifying looks like it's coming to an end.
Indeed. So Kevin Yokel has put himself on the pole for this one. David Boyer is going to be starting next to him. Mark Collingwood will be in P3 as Adam Girling starts from 4th. Then Lee Binkley in that battle for P2 in the points will start right behind him. John Gibson will be 6th, and Curtis Crummell will be 7th. Andy Green will be P8, followed by Ken Eskridge 9th, and David Palmer rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be Charlie Boyer, followed by Michael Adams, then Robert Neville, Steve Comatz, and Christopher Costas. Andrew Long finds himself in 16th place, and then it's going to be Andrew Elsom behind him, Craig Smith down in 18th, and Will Mungia down in 19th. And that's a crucial position there, Joe. That is 1 second up to the leader. 19th and 1st, separated only by a second. Ward Preston rounds out your top 20.
Randy Teague will be the next one with Carl Boccieri to his outside. George Poulos will start in 23rd, followed by Patrick Gill in the 24th position. Quarter century mark goes to David Krutzler. Then it's Jeff Williams in 26th and Antonio Da Silva in 27th. He'll be flanked by Peter Yurtza. Bob Moore will start in 29th, Neil Urbesh 30th, and the last 3 will be Nick Whitehill in 31st, Ankerberg Zona, who we saw there at the end, 32nd, and Jeff Rosen 33rd. All drivers managed to set a time in the qualifying. Now, even though they have been swapping back and forth between standing starts and rolling starts, because this is the RSR and it's not a car made for standing starts, they have switched it over to a rolling start for this one, DJ.
Yeah, good call there for them. You really can't be going on a standing start there for these drivers, but it's going to lead for maybe a little bit of chaos coming down into turn one. We often see some drivers overshooting just a little bit. We've got to think that most of them here in the sport class are going to keep it together, but that is an area to watch out for.
Speaking of watching out for things, Kevin Yokel with that pole position, definitely one that's going to help his chances. He sits 5th in the championship, and he's trying to chase John Gibson, who is in 6th right now. But it's a long race, 60 minutes, and we have to remember there is a pit stop that they must take for fuel during this race. So that could play a big part of it, as well as just generally staying out of trouble like you were talking about, DJ. This place can really catch you out just by hitting a bump wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to stay on the wheel throughout the entirety of the lap. You really can't let yourself be any sort of complacent around here. Otherwise, this historic circuit will come back to bite you.
So Yokel there on the inside in the green machine, getting ready as they take off behind the pace car. Thankfully, a very short pace lap around here before they get going, but that also means they won't be able to get the tires fully up to temperature here by trying to weave a bit. They don't have enough time. As Kevin Yokel now waiting patiently, and apologies, that is Boyer in the green machine. Kevin Yokel in the black and white as they accelerate away. Green flag is out. Coming down to the first corner, Kevin's under threat as Boyer's around the outside. He's also got Collingwood looking for the inside. They're actually going to come together, and they'll bounce into the outside wall, thankfully out of the way, but we've got another accident behind them as more cars have tipped. They're going to try and scatter to avoid the mess, but this is a very ungainly start.
Very, very ungainly start there, and it just looked like a little bit of miscommunication among our leaders coming down into the corner. But the big gainer out of all of that, and even before the contact, was Mark Collingwood, who was already putting pressure onto the back there as they went along. Now it's going to be Collingwood, Binkley, Gerling, Gibson, and Crummell, your top 5.
Not only are Binkley and Gerling fighting for second in the points, but now they are fighting for second on the track as well. Collingwood going to try and run away from it, but definitely took out some major players there, unfortunately, including Yokel, who just found himself maybe making a little bit too of an aggressive move at the start. We'll see if there's any penalties that come out of it as well, because this drama might not be over. Meanwhile, somebody locking it up there coming into Cunningham. We could see briefly, but they continue out of tower, and Collingwood is still going to be your leader.
Yeah, Collingwood's going to hold on to the lead. Binkley about 0.8 of a second behind. He's got a nice little gap between himself and Adam Gerling at this point, but Gerling under a lot of pressure there from John Gibson. We'll have to see how all of this plays itself out, though, as things continue to evolve in this race.
Kevin Yokel, by the way, is sitting down in 25th. David Boyer's in 27th. They were able to keep going. They do have a spare car, we have to remember. However, if they come into the pits now, they will have to make another stop there for their regular pit stop. It's just a little too early for those sorts of games at this stage. And in fact, they're just completing the first lap now with Collingwood and Binkley running away a bit.
Yeah, they've got now a 1.3 second gap, and there's a little bit of a train starting to form behind Adam Gerling here, as now Crummell and Green are starting to enter into the equation. And I think a little bit of side-by-side right now between Crummell and Green coming down the start-finish straight.
Coming down into the first corner, it looks like it is going to go to Crummell. Nope, a Green coming back at him, and they're going to bang doors just a little bit as they come down into turn 3. Green down to the inside. Can he finish the job? Yes, he does, as I think we had a problem back in the field again on the front stretch. That was very strange. Randy Teague hitting the back of Christopher Costas as Costas slowed suddenly. Unless there was some sort of slowdown penalty, that was a very strange incident.
Let's take a look at the replay here, Joe, with this coming on. Now, that's going to be Costas in the number 23. Yeah, he gets off to the side, taps the brakes there. You can see those rear brake lights flashing, and then just a hit from behind. I don't think he really recognized what was happening in front of him. That's a very strange incident.
Teague coming off the worst on that one as he wound up on his lid, so absolutely had to take a tow into pit lane. Meanwhile, look at this great little battle that we've got coming into Cunningham as Robert Neville is trying his best on Boccieri, but can't quite make it stick. Boccieri as well on Christopher Costas as they now come into tower, and it's an absolute string of cars. The 23 leading them, Boccieri, then you've got Neville, Preston, Elsom, and Smith.
Well, and you could see there as we looked ahead, that rear wing damage on the back of Christopher Costas' car, that's really going to hurt him on corner exit through some of these fast corners here coming down through Jean de Vienne, as well as on this long straightaway. I think he's going to be a sitting duck to Carl Boccieri.
Very good exit off the corner for Preston as well, who is behind this pair. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Very slow in a straight line. Boccieri already sees the inside. He's going to slide up into Sunset Bend, and as long as he's good on the brakes, he should have this is behind him. There's still some action. Costas is finding himself under attack from Neville, who gets through. Now it looks like Ward Preston, and he makes contact as he was trying to pit, and that was into the side of Andrew Elsom.
Oh, and diving down into pit lane there almost immediately is going to be Christopher Costas. And oh, look at that car absolutely crabbing. That is not what you want to see.
Couldn't make it into pit lane after he got hit like that. And understandable that Christopher wanted into the pits, but he was just on the wrong side of the track, and he thought he was clear when he wasn't.
Yeah, I tried to go down to the inside there. An uncharacteristically scruffy race here from the sport class. This is not what I would have normally anticipated, and even more damage there to Costas as he tried to came down to the inside.
And we saw a very poor start for the club, but the pro did pretty well. And this one is kind of leaning towards the former, unfortunately. It's definitely not like last Thursday's race. So something about Wednesday nights seems to have given everybody a bit of the red mist.
Yeah, it certainly has. We check back in on the front of the field, though. Lee Binkley trying to close down here a little bit on Mark Collingwood. Now, if you look up the road, that car that you saw flashing in the distance, that's Michael Adams. That is a lapped car. So this is the battle. That is your leader right there. Only 0.5 of a second. Binkley keeping this gap relatively close.
By the way, Costas has been given a black flag, so he's going to have to come in and serve that if he isn't already in pit lane. But this battle for the lead is getting a little hotter because Binkley got a good run coming off Le Mans as we step back to Peter Yurtsa now in 17th. Whoa, but we got problems behind him.
Yeah, and that's going to be Patrick Gill there. Now, I'm not sure if that was maybe just a little bit of a touch on the grass that sent him around or exactly what caused that there for him. Let's take another look at it on the replay. Again, a slow car there coming off of the corner, and that's going to set up a big stack up through the rest of this field.
Watch Gill here. I think it's the curb. Yo, oh, absolutely. That car was bicycling there, just on two wheels, and not much he could do. It slams him into the wall. He is back into 21st now.
Yeah, he's going to have to do everything he can to keep everything going the right way here at this point. We jump back to Lee Binkley at the moment as Binkley continues to close down on Mark Collingwood, trying to see if he's able to reel him in. He's got to be a little bit careful there because that is Randy Teague in between him. But I'll tell you what, Adam Gerling's bringing this gap down.
He's going to go by the lapped car. I think Teague, knowing he's not in the battle here, is behind them. There's an attempt by Green on Gibson. Doesn't quite work out, and Gerling just outbraked himself on top of it. So whatever he had gained, he's now lost.
Yeah, whatever he's gained, he's lost here at this point. So here they come, working their way down into the hairpin. This is going to be the moment where they try to take a little bit of a lunge at each other potentially. I thought they were going to do it there, but Andy Green and John Gibson both staying in line as they continue to try to hunt down.
Very close now between Gibson and Green there. Green just needs himself a good exit somewhere if he's going to be able to stay this close. Surely he's going to have an attack on his mind at some point as they fly through Bishop into Jean de Vienne. Difficult to pass here. He knows it. He's not going to try it quite yet. Maybe looking for the setup. DJ coming out of Le Mans.
Yeah, that's what I would be looking at here at this point. See if I can get a good draft down the long Ullman straight. But it looks like there that John Gibson may have done just enough to be able to keep that at bay. And for these drivers that are under attack, that's exactly what you need to do. Just focus on the exit from Le Mans, and you'll be able to keep yourself at bay for a little while.
Looks like Kevin Yokel, I think this is for the incident at the very start. He was the one given the black flag here, so he is going to find himself having to come in for that one. In the background, that was Michael Adams that we saw bringing the smoke up a little bit on the outside of Sunset Bend. I'm not sure why he had to tow in, but he's also finding himself making an unscheduled visit to pit lane. riding back on board with Andy Green one more time. Turn 3 sees some passes, but not this time.
He got a very good run there coming off of turn 1. Oh, but had to check himself up on the brakes a little bit. I don't think he really anticipated Gibson braking nearly as quick as he did, and that's going to send Green well down through the order.
Yeah, as soon as he touched that grass, there was no slowing the car down in time. He'll get back on track just behind Antonio De Silva. Ward Preston now also getting the wag of the finger from the stewards as he gets a black flag. And on board, we're with Neil Urbesh, up 19 positions in this race. Hardest charger, but it's close between himself and David Krutzler and Antonio De Silva, who are both up 18.
Well, it just goes to show you, Joe, we always talk about taking advantage of others' misfortune, and that's exactly what these drivers were able to do. I guarantee you, if we pulled up the replay machine there and showed a little bit of a charge at the front, we'd see those 3 cars absolutely slicing their way through the chaos.
Yep, the racing is the personification of that Seinfeld meme of "that's a shame." Just as everybody else falls by the wayside, you pick it up and you keep going. Meanwhile, coming down once again into Bishop, De Silva is ahead of Green, but we know Green's likely got a little damage after his little contact with the wall.
Yeah, probably some front nose damage there. I'm taking a look at that machine. It looks like he's able to take it pretty well, actually. Very wide line coming into Le Mans. That's exactly going to be what he wants. Carry a lot of good speed there, and here comes Green on the charge.
Can he get it done is the question. He's still got the straight line speed, apparently, not suffering there. And he's got that inside. Ooh, that was close under braking, but De Silva is going to give up the ghost. Green gets back in a ninth.
Yeah, and I think there from De Silva, that was probably a good recognition. He came down into the corner, maybe broke a little bit early. Ooh, Andrew Long taking a little bit of an opportunistic line going down through the corner in P18 down through Sunset. Looks like he missed his braking zone a little bit. I thought he was going to try to maybe take a very late apex through there, but I think he just missed the braking zone.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Ooh. This is down to 0.3 of a second once again between Collingwood and Binkley. Now, we've seen this a couple times. He's been able to get this close, but it looks like he is struggling somewhat, DJ, to try and make the attack here. Wonder what the difference is going to need to be for him to be able to actually get side by side.
Well, it may be a situation where he just wants to try to push Collingwood a little bit and see if he can force an error out of the number 13. We'll have to see there. A little bit of a wide run. I think Binkley got on the power just a little bit too late there coming out of Cunningham, and it's going to cost him a couple of tenths.
And I don't blame Binkley for wanting to try to get the lead. Yes, he's in front of Gerling, but yeah, there you see him right in the background. That 248 car in the black and blue is very much a threat still. So a little mistake from Lee could cost him. He needs that buffer of a car between him just to make sure that Gerling doesn't get by.
Yeah, exactly. And he just wants to be able to build that as much as possible. Remember, they're fighting for those championship positions here at this point, and they don't want to let any of that slip away.
In fact, that was a good run through that last series of corners from Gerling. Down to about 0.9 of a second as well for John Gibson, who's gaining on him there in that 9:11. But heading back into Sunset Bend once again, not seeing much changes this time as they complete lap 6 of this race. It's been quite a lot of action in a short period of time. It does seem to be settling in, though.
Yeah, it seems like we're finally starting to get a little bit into the groove, into the rhythm here of this race. A little bit of action farther back. That's Boyer and Long going down into Sunset. They're going to sort themselves out by the time they get around. Whoa, and that is Andrew Long again taking a very different line down through Sunset.
Taking a long line appropriately around that turn. So, oh no, I just said Binkley needs to stay ahead of Gerling in case there's an issue, and this is exactly why. He is down into P4, and this was not his fault. Ward Preston had a little bit of a slide in front of him. You're going to see that silver car. Watch that chrome machine. And he's not got many places to go. He decides the left-hand side, and that was the wrong choice.
And now he has got it all to do. Binkley finds himself down in 4th place as he runs. Let's take a look here on board with it, and you're going to see exactly what you said, Joe. He just tries to pick a lane here, decides to go down into the inside, and Preston unfortunately released the brakes there a little bit to let himself slide off to the outside, or the inside rather, and that was enough to just catch him out. And adding insult to injury, Binkley's got a little bit of damage on the front of that car.
So these guys are going to make me pull up the points table here and try to do some of this math to figure it out. I thought it would be at least a little bit simpler with Lee and Gerling staying close, but now that Gerling's got about 2 positions over him, this changes the game a little bit. Back to Boyer and Long now in the battle for 17th. Ooh, Charlie a little slow there coming off a tower, and Long knows it.
Yes, he does. He's going to be hunting, looking down to the inside. Oh, big jump of the curve there for Andrew Long. He's going to lose a couple of tenths as a result of that.
Coming back through Genevieve and into Le Mans. They are a little farther apart as they come up and over. Ooh, Jeff Williams now getting a black flag. So that's, gosh, I think the 4th driver that's been given a penalty already here today. Let's hope it stops from there, and they can at least have a little bit more of a clean one from here to the finish. By the way, the difference between P2 and P4 is 40 points.
Gibson's had a problem.
Whoa, and does he take Binkley with him? Binkley's in the midst of it. He had just lost a problem. Couple cars off track there. That is Curtis Crummell as well as Gibson.
Oh, and there you see Binkley, just trying to sort his way through the cars there at that point. Absolute chaos as it came on through. I'm not sure who that was he made contact with, but I do see Krutzler falling down through the order.
Binkley did sneak through from that replay, it looks like. Oh, coming back onto the track. Holy cow.
Yeah, so it looks like there that was a big slide coming down through turn 1, and as you said earlier, Joe, just seeing a little bit of red, I think, trying to get back involved in that conversation, and that's what threw him off.
Yeah, so Gibson having to collect it, unfortunately, winds up getting to the side of Crummell when he wasn't paying attention. And weirdly, Randy Teague was in there out-braking himself when he didn't intend to, it looked like. That, or he was trying to avoid Gibson with his spin. But it was just a mess of action happening. And it does give Binkley 3rd place back, which is 20 points difference between himself and Gerling. I think that will put Binkley to the good and hold on to 2nd place, but he can't have much more of that drama.
No, he certainly can, and at this point, as you see there on your screen, that is Komatz behind him by about a second, so he's got a little bit of breathing room. But we're going to jump here on board with Neil Urbash, who clobbers the curbs coming down through Le Mans. Urbash trying to close in on Carl Buccieri in front of him. Look at this, though, the 087 going for a move.
Neville's got the inside. Can he finish the job? Urbash is going to try and fight him for it. He breaks very, very deep, but I think he's got the line. Inside is known for being very bumpy, but it's just a little bit too wide. Not enough grip on the exit as Neville is going to be able to finish it.
Nice job there from Neville. Let's see if there's going to be a response here from the 33. He's certainly close enough coming down into turn 1 to look around the outside, but not able to carry that speed. And that is going to be good and well held there for Rob Neville.
Very brave there from Neil, trying to send it deep down into turn 1 and didn't make contact, but he's very lucky that the lines worked the way they did, because I thought he was going to run to the back of that 087. Oof, okay, we're about a quarter of the way into this thing, and it has just been all over the place as we come down into the hairpin once again. The battle between Mungia and now Andy Green. Andy's up 3, Will is up 13.
Yeah, Will's doing a great job, again, just avoiding some of the chaos that we've seen. That baby blue machine is just scything his way through the field, and I think at this point in this race, Joe, that's exactly the kind of mentality you've got to have. You just need to focus on being clean, not making any of those mistakes, and the positions will come to you.
Yeah, I just realized, I think, is that supposed to be an homage to the pink pig, except it's blue, so blue eggs and ham, I guess, today?
I will go with that. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it certainly does have the cut marks on it as the pink pig would.
Following him down through Genevieve, but Green is able to stretch the gap, so I think he's a lot more clear at this stage ahead of them. Komatz is also about a second up the road, so they're becoming equidistant up there. And it looks like they've got about 1 second as well to Lee Binkley. Here we are on board with Komatz coming into Sunset Bend with his fancy triple screen setup. And look at how close he gets to the outside wall there, coming off the turn, using up every inch he can now that that's paved over there.
Well, that's exactly the line that you've got to take there, Joe. You cannot put any of that to risk. You have got to just absolutely chuck the car down into the corner and maximize the acceleration coming out of Sunset, or you're going to be left like a sitting duck as you work your way around.
A lot of gainers and a lot of losers out there. De Silva and Urbesh are up 20. David Boyer is down 18. John Gibson down 19. Kevin Yokel, who is actually back out on track, is down 27 after what looked like such a promising start. As almost run out of room there, David Palmer is trying to attack on Urbesh, but he suddenly has to give way and leave him the space since he's got the overlap down into the braking, into the hairpin. What's it going to be off the corner? We've seen problems as drivers try to go side by side, but this time they get it sorted out and Palmer gets the spot.
Well done there by both drivers, giving each other plenty of space, and I'll tell you who loves seeing that. That is Craig Smith here on the number 74. He is closing up behind them. He wants to see these two continue to battle because that is just going to grant him more and more positions.
Absolutely. So there's one spot down for Urbesh. He was at 20. Oh, and now De Silva's off just in front of them. He's going to lose a couple positions himself. Might be another one because Palmer's got good speed. But first, we're going to check the replay. Tower is one that tends to catch drivers out. Is that all that happened here? Yep, overcooked it.
Yeah, just overcooked it there. I think there may have been a little bit of excessive running on the curbs as he came in. That could have changed his braking zone ever so slightly, but Antonio De Silva going to fall down through the order just a little bit. Now, that car that you saw getting on and passed by, that was David Palmer, who had a very bad run out of Le Mans.
Dipping his wheels off into the dirt, unfortunately. That loses him some speed, and he's back down to 12th. He's now lost 2 positions from where he started. Up in front of them, going way wide there, Neil Urbesh. Oh, that slows up Smith, who gets turned around. Palmer gets into the back of him. We have had a few more black flags already between Teague and Whitehill, but I suspect we're going to see some more now.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Just when we thought everything was calming down here a little bit, there's the 29 trying to make a move around the outside. Whoa, that's David Palmer getting very, very close there.
Krutzler playing defense here, coming down into turn 3. He's going to hold on to it, but Palmer just not expecting that. They're on the final turn, coming onto the main straight. Drivers have kind of lost their minds a little bit tonight.
The bumps here at Sebring clearly causing a little bit of argy-bargy coming on out as, ooh, that's a big blink and another big blink there coming down into the corner there for Krutzler. That's not what you want to see if you're a competitor or if you're David behind the wheel of the car.
Yeah, Palmer's going to try and get by him now. He doesn't want to sit and deal with this as Urbesh sees it in his mirror. Let's see what happens down into Cunningham. Krutzler's going to defend. Palmer trying to attack, but it looks like without the apex, nothing doing.
Yeah, nothing quite doing there at that point. Let's see if anything's going to be able to happen here as just everybody slowly but surely working their way up forward, trying to see what they're going to be able to get. It's going to be a little bit crazy to see what can happen here amongst these drivers, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see a good run.
Neil's slow out of tower, and that allows Krutzler to catch up to him, but can't quite make the pass. Once again, a mistake down through Jean-Ebien from Urbesh. Looking like the car is slipping and sliding around a little bit. He's got to get it under control here.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. Remember when I said at the beginning of this race, you do not want to let this car slide on you. It's very, very easy, especially on corner exit, to let that problem occur. You've got to keep it together.
Sending it down into Sunset Bend once again. Very different brake markers for each of the cars. Krutzler almost getting to the back of Urbesh, as well as Palmer now catching up as he tails on the back of that red, white, and blue number 29. Does he dare try and take it? He's looking for it, but once again, that car blinks. David Krutzler maybe causing some hesitation out of the 72.
I really think he is, Joe. I really and truly think that's exactly what he's doing, and that it's really causing a little bit of that hesitation, as you said, for these drivers who do not want to get involved in a car that's blinking like that. It'll absolutely throw you off as a driver.
When Krutzler had another couple wheels off, unfortunately, there. That's going to slow him up coming out of turn 5. And as they fly down into the hairpin, they're starting to get a little bit of company as well, because Urbesh is leading, Krutzler and Palmer are chasing, but Charlie Boyer has caught them. They do have Gibson, who's a lap down. Andrew Long and Peter Yurtza are also finding themselves thrown into this group as we get a side-by-side battle between Neville and Boccieri, and this one's been brewing for a couple laps, actually.
Yeah, it certainly has, just slowly but surely kind of bringing on a little bit of that battle. Boccieri trying to hold off here as they go. Let's see if he's able to do it.
Boccieri up 15 right now. Neville up 5 positions. Also in front of them, that is a lap car. That's Nick Whitehill. But this could be good news for Boccieri, because this is going to give him a nice pull here along the Ullman Straight.
Yeah, it certainly will. That's going to be a big help there. These RSRs are a little bit more draft dependent than some of the other cars that we've seen in the series thus far. So maybe it'll help him, and indeed it does as he breaks down into Sunset. Boccieri safe for now.
No attack this time, but we're starting to approach the halfway point. So will we see drivers will start to make some moves on strategy as David Palmer is fighting with Charlie Boyer, and Boyer's going to take the position, move him up into P12.
Boyer just getting his elbows out there a little bit, not taking no for an answer, but here they come down into the corner, going to try to defend a little bit as that 72 of David Palmer, not able to get it back though. Whoop, maybe he's going to get it here.
He's thinking about it. He's looking for it. So is Krutzler on Urbesh, but no change of position between any of them. Gibson did allow Charlie Boyer by both of them spin down to the inside as Urbesh and Krutzler give away the lead of that group. Now, I don't know if there was any contact involved. I missed it. Let's take a look at the replay, see if we can figure that out.
All right, so here it is. That's Urbesh up in front, Krutzler behind, going to dive down into the corner. Yes, to answer your question, Joe, there definitely was contact.
Ooh, that is not going to go over well. Urbesh looks like he's having trouble getting the car going, and looks like it might be crabbing a little bit, unfortunately. Patrick Gill has been given a black flag, and Christopher Costas also caught one, as Urbesh, unfortunately, is going to have to tow the car in. He couldn't get it back home.
You hate to see that there for Urbesh. He was having a really good run on the day, definitely building up some good momentum, and certainly something that could have come to a little bit better. As we check back in here on the 72 of David Palmer, trying to close down now on Charlie Boyer.
Yep, and this is that battle essentially that was behind that incident that we just watched. So they all pick up a few positions, namely Charlie Boyer the most. He's now at the front of the train in 9th up there, up 2 from where he started. Palmer, interestingly, is exactly where he began this race, as Long fights with Gibson, but Gibson knows that he's lapping him. He doesn't need to try and battle for this one, although he does cut back underneath him. But this is not going to make Long all that happy.
No, it's certainly not. Getting a little bit close there as they come down the start-finish straightaway right now. I've got to imagine that he's going to get the corner to him. No, he's not. He is absolutely fighting it there. Now Long's finally going to be able to get by. That'll make him feel a little bit better. It looks like we've had a little bit of a problem, though, for De Silva coming down into turn 1, and it looks like the 4 spinning in sympathy.
Yeah, that's Kevin Yokel, who's already had just a terrible day. And De Silva's honestly had his own incident a little bit earlier after he gave away what was a good number of positions that he had picked up. Let's watch from De Silva's perspective first here.
All right, so this is coming down into turn 1. It looks like they're just trying to get a little bit of a move done on that 311 up in front of him, and that's Nick Whitehill. That was a lapped car, and I think that was just an issue of him taking his eyes off the ball.
Yeah, he hit that inside wall very hard there, so he's probably got a severely damaged car after that one. But the 4 doesn't hit anything. He's able to get out of the way of the oncoming traffic, so Kevin carries on in 26th right now, but he is still going to be cursing himself in that cockpit.
Yeah, very much so. I think he is not going to be having the best day, as you said earlier, Joe, and he is definitely going to be ruining his time out on Sebring International Raceway. As we jump on board with David Boyer, nice little battle here with De Silva. Now finds himself in the firing line.
De Silva has a black and orange flag, so he must come in to get repairs. Most likely we'll see him taking his spare car since he hasn't been in yet. And he is within the pit window, so hopefully shouldn't cost him too much other than the time he lost hitting that wall and spinning the car out. And in fact, there you can see him moving to the inside. Is he giving it up? No? Well, I guess he's trying to defend just so that he has the inside line so he can pit here.
Yeah, and I think that may also be a little bit of an indication that he is coming down into pit lane, breaks exceptionally early down into the corner, as I said there. I think that was a little bit of a combination of giving up the corner as well as just that indication that he is coming down into the pits.
Yeah, so he learned his lesson from what we saw with a couple other drivers on that pit entry, that if you have traffic around you, you really need to be heads up, and made sure that he didn't take any risks on that one. Meanwhile, back with Andy Green, fourth position for the number 42 with Lee Binkley in front of him, and Lee is probably thinking, shoo, go away. I really don't need this. I'm trying to hold on to this P3 and second in the championship.
Yeah, he just wants to try to hold on to it here at this point, but Green has been slowly but surely closing in. Meanwhile, in counter to that, we haven't seen Binkley closing in on the back of Gerling. That gap was about 10, 11 seconds. It's down 1.5 seconds here at this point, but that's about 15 minutes ago, the last time we checked in on it, so it's not coming down nearly as much as he would like.
No, certainly not. So this is bad news for Lee Binkley. Might have to play a little bit of defense, and plus they still have the pit stops, so Green could try and out-strategize him. As there we see all the cars out on the track. A couple bigger spots that you could maybe slip into if you take an early pit stop here, but not anticipating many of the drivers electing to do that.
No, I think the play here, Joe, is going to be run this tank as long as possible. As we check in on your leader, Mark Collingwood, we got to give him some credit here. He avoided all of the chaos at the start and has been running a clean, smooth race here up in P1.
And he had a couple challenges at the very start. There were some cars that could have threatened that lead, but he's held on to it. Gerling's doing his best with the situation, but is still down in P2, and like you said, about 4.5 seconds behind that number 13. So he's got work to do there. You see third place with Lee Binkley, and he is the first car actually with an incident point out there. Collingwood and Gerling are both 0X.
That's really pretty impressive with just as much as we've seen today. We sort of cycle back through the field there. That's Steve Komatz running in 5th place. He's got about 6 seconds to try to get up the road there to Andy Green. He's got not really all that much pressure behind him. Will Mungia not too far behind. But, Joe, we do have our pit stop cycle starting to fire off here as Krutzler and Yurtza both come down into the pits.
Yeah, so now we're starting to see some of the mid-packers decide it's worth it to try it. I mean, we've had a slew of drivers farther down take longer than normal stops, guys like Patrick Gill, Nick Whitehill, some of them serving penalties, honestly, but others having to take repairs or get their spare car, take a tow, and that's what's costing them so much time. Carl Boccieri here in the 12th position in that number 80, still chasing on Crummell in front of him. And is that a battle for position in front of them? No, that's Long and Gibson again.
Hey, if I'm Andrew Long, I'm not too happy about this. John Gibson, I get fighting for position here and fighting like that, but he's a lap down. This is not exactly what I would like to see if I was Andrew Long. Yeah,
it's costing him time. Gibson finally allows him through, but now Crummell is almost directly behind them. Also, Neil Urbesh has sadly become our latest DNF in this race after what was looking like such a fantastic run for him has all come to naught, and he'll be scored at the back of the field. Watching from on board, Gibson now our lapped car as we, and that time we could actually see a bit of a checkup. So I don't know if someone got in his ear or what, but thankfully he's not battling as hard. And now Andrew Long pits anyways.
All right, so that's going to be Long coming down into pit lane out of about 11th place. Boccieri opting to stay out right now as he's got Curtis Crummell right up ahead of him. And now is Gibson going to throw the same kind of defense that we've seen? That's exactly what Boccieri is going to want to see. He wants to see that car put up a little bit of a roadblock here to Crummell.
So looking like actually Long might come out pretty good here because Kent Eskridge is still catching up to him. And Long has a very extensive stop, 15 seconds. I wonder if he took tires or a tire in there because most other drivers have a very short stop. That's interesting.
Well, I'm not sure I necessarily see the impetus to take tires here. Track temperature is only 79 degrees Fahrenheit, and normally when we talk about Sebring International Raceway and tire wear, it's the heat and the humidity that causes those tires to wear out a little bit more. So not entirely sure what his strategy is there, but I could be wrong.
No tires for him, and he took his free repair as far as I could tell. So I'm a little bit baffled by that one. Not sure what's going on there. Meanwhile, Collingwood still leads up at the front of the field. He's going to carry on another lap. We're anticipating probably about 15 minutes to go. 20 to 15 minutes to go for most drivers if they are saving fuel. But otherwise, we should be seeing a lot more cars starting to pit in soon as we ride on board with your leader.
Yeah, we're going to ride on board with Collingwood here. And a great note from our director, Ryan Bauer, that I'm assuming came from the forums here, from Jesse Lyon, that the GTE tires, they're a little bit special. They last longer than the GT3 tires that we've seen usually earlier in the year, and they don't plateau in grip like the GT3 tires do. They lose traction, yes, but it's a slow and steady loss over the course of it. So I think the move here, Joe, is not to take tires.
Well, Mungia is in. He's taken his service. Yeah, I'm not anticipating people taking tires, but maybe it is this 15 seconds. Maybe it takes longer to fuel than I remember.
Look at that. Will's up on the jacks there. He's taking tires.
Oh, okay, he did this time. Yeah, so that is for sure. And he is going to come out a little bit ahead of Andrew Long. Meanwhile, got a nice little side-by-side coming down through Big Bend. That's Whitehill and Gibson again. Battling with cars that it's not for position. Or wait, no, Whitehill was for position. Apologies.
Yeah, he is fighting Whitehill for position, but putting up that kind of scrap when you've got cars coming up behind you that are also fighting for position in the form of Boccieri and Crummell, you're not going to make any friends out on the circuit. Let's remember here, racing drivers have the memory of elephants. They're going to remember this from John Gibson.
To play devil's advocate, though, Gibson and Whitehill battling for position. They've got their own race to run. In the meantime, we've got Boccieri, I think, making a pass here, coming down into the hairpin. Oh.
Yeah, this is on Crummell up in front of him there. You see that stack up, and he's just able to get a better launch off of the corner and take advantage there of Curtis.
Wow, great heads up by Boccieri. Able to just slide through and pick his pocket. That's exactly what you got to do in those situations. We carry on with Gibson and Whitehill here. This is 422nd spot between that pair. Although, excuse me, that is Boccieri directly behind Whitehill right now. So he's going to put himself between the two of them, and that will interrupt that battle.
Yeah, it's going to interrupt him here. At this point, he's going to be able to put his way ahead. A lot of speed there, carry through mid-corner there, it has to be said, for that trailing car as they work their way back onto the pit straight. David Palmer and Curtis Crummell both down in pit lane.
Okay, so maybe this will give us a better inclination on what's happening here with the pit stops, because the numbers I'm seeing are all over the place. I'm seeing 4 seconds, 7 seconds, 15 seconds, 23 seconds. So take your pick. Usually it's a lot easier to figure out what exactly is going on strategy-wise, but today's pit stops are kind of matching what the racing was like, too.
Yeah, a little bit chaotic, a little bit all over the place here. We're not entirely sure. Looks like Palmer's in and out in about 13.9 seconds. Crummell's going to be out in about 14.5. Looks like Krutzler may be down into pit lane again, though. Not sure what's going on there with David.
So it does look like, it is roughly 13 to 14 seconds for the fuel. So I think that is the standard that we're looking for most cars. And that gives us something to go on when the leaders finally pit in, because we're still waiting on the top 8 right now, some of which will have to give some positions away because of the strategy calls. Others have pitted that were in front of them.
Yeah, they certainly have. So we're going to have to see what plays out here as we've got a little bit of a battle that continues to rage on. Binkley and Green, your leader, Collingwood in the pits.
You're right. He's down looking for his stall now. Gerling carries on. Binkley carries on, but Green pits, so he's going to try to undercut. Here we go. Now we're starting to see those calls being made. Komats is going to stay out. Collingwood in his pit stall here, almost all the way up at the front, having started this race in 3rd. So it's going to be a short sprint out. There's your new leader, Adam Gerling. Collingwood up to 14, 15. It's a little long there. 16 seconds for Collingwood. Interesting.
Yeah, that could be a little bit of a problem there. It's about 4 seconds or so, the gap, remember, between himself and Gerling. We could see that come down a little bit here. He could find himself in the midst of a battle, especially if Gerling is able to push at this point on his, what we presume will be his in-lap.
And Green did the same, 16 seconds. He was in that battle with Lee Binkley. Does this give an opportunity for both Gerling and Binkley to push themselves a little bit higher up? Or is that 16 seconds more likely? Is it some of those earlier drivers maybe cut it a little close?
Well, we're about to find out one way or the other, Joe. I can tell you for sure that the drivers that came in like Boyer, like Eskridge, who did a 4 or a 7-second pit stop, they're going to be hurting by the time this race comes to an end.
A couple more penalties. Krutzler was given one, and Boccieri, interestingly, has gotten one. They have specified he did not leave room. So I'm not sure if we did see the incident involved in that, but Carl is going to have to give up what has been looking like a potential top 10 today.
Yeah, not sure about that one. Again, we didn't see that, so we can't exactly say anything about that necessarily, but we're going to ride on board with Gerling. Pretty close to the edge there. He's going to keep going for another lap.
Okay, so he's saved enough fuel. He can get a little bit farther. What about Binkley? Binkley's coming in. He heads past the cones and looks for the entryway as Komats and Charlie Boyer still behind him. Where is Collingwood, though? Don't think we'll see Binkley jump him unless it's a really drastically short stop for Lee. But it looks like he does have a little bit of damage on the nose of the car. Here is Collingwood, highest pitter right now, but with a long pit stop, so a question mark hangs over his head.
Yeah, and Charlie Boyer, by the way, coming back down into pit lane here at this point. Remember, he hadn't pit, or he had pit before, but he was one of those 4-second pitters. Looks like Collingwood's going to go back in and assume second place. 14-second stop there for Lee Binkley. He gets himself back out, and he will be a little bit behind as he runs.
Where is he with Green? He's going to be ahead of him. Binkley with about a second and a half faster in his pit stall, but he's going to have to deal with these lapped cars, Whitehill and David Boyer. No, excuse me, David Boyer's for position, but he's taken a 4-second stop, so he needs to come in again.
Well, I just saw him coming back down pit lane, so yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened there to Boyer, but I think you're right, Joe. I think he is going to owe us one. Here is your leader, Adam Gerling, up in the front of the field by about 30 seconds right now as he runs. The question's going to be is that going to be enough to keep Mark Collingwood behind?
Remember, we do have Charlie Boyer. I think that's who you saw. David Boyer.
Yes,
yeah.
Sorry.
Says the 25. I know that's going to get confusing as Gerling, like you said, carries on down the Ullman straight. Only himself and Craig Smith have not pitted, but we do anticipate David Boyer owing us a pit stop here. Let's see what happens. 18 minutes left on the clock. Surely this is it. Yes, Gerling finally comes in for fuel.
All right, is this overcut going to play itself out? These extra 2-3 laps that he was able to make. You see Collingwood right now. He's just making his way onto the Ullman Straight. Here they go.
And Binkley's about 11 seconds behind Collingwood, so that's a very big gap for Gerling to slot into regardless ahead of Binkley. Let's see what happens as Collingwood comes around Sunset Bend. Gerling's in his pit stall, 5 seconds currently on the timer. Out of the final turn now. It ticks up past 10 seconds. Collingwood past the start, finish straight. Girling's moving. It's 14 seconds, 2 seconds faster. Collingwood goes by. It's not enough of a jump.
Oh, not enough of a jump, but the question here is going to be, is Girling going to be able to close this down a little bit? The gap's only 4 seconds with 17 and a half minutes left to go. That is not unfeasible.
Yeah, that's a good point. He could try and challenge him, but he's going to need a good amount of pace, that is for sure. And they have David Krutzler between them, a lapped car, so he's got a little bit of a buffer at this stage between himself and his rival. Craig Smith finally pits in, and David Boyer, who needed that one extra stop, is now in pit lane.
All right, so it looks like everybody that owed us a pit stop here at this point is going to come down into pit lane, and that should be the majority of the field, the entirety of the field, now taking their service with 17 minutes left to go. It's all down to who's able to race on the track.
And that is your leader by merit right now. Mark Collingwood up at the top. Girling sits in second after the pit stops are done. Lee Binkley sits in third. Andy Green's fourth, and Steve Komatz is fifth. There's your top five. But it's pretty wide margins between those top five. 21 seconds currently between all of them combined.
And I'm really going to attribute that to the multiple kerfluffles that we saw at the beginning of the race here, Joe. We saw how close these drivers were on pace at the beginning, and I think here for all of them, they just find themselves here in a little bit of rough running and not really able to close down on one another.
And Eskridge versus Andrew Long. Andrew's up by 6 currently. He's giving chase. We watch from on board, looking under the rear wing of Andrew here in that number 28 car. Quarter of the race now left to go. Good exit there out of Tower for Andrew. Ken's got no response.
Yeah, no response there as they run, and it looks like that's going to be Long able to stretch his legs. Now that he's finally been able to free some of that lap traffic, looks like it's going to be good running here for him. He's had good pace all day. It's just a matter of minimizing those mistakes that we've seen him make every now and again.
I mentioned a little bit earlier we had lost Neil Urbesh. We've also lost Ward Preston, Michael Adams, and Bob Moore. Still have 29 cars out on the track, but they've spread apart pretty far. This is our best battle currently between Ken and Andrew. Going to hop on board, looking at through the helmet cam of Eskridge.
Through the helmet cam of Eskridge, tighter line there. Oh, Eskridge coming back down into pit lane. He was one of those ones that took a very early pit stop on lap 2, 7.9 seconds. Eskridge clearly needs to fuel back up.
Right now I'm seeing only 18 cars left on the lead lap, but I think it'll stay that way even with Eskridge taking this pit stop. Checking in with David Palmer now. That's Will Mungia just in front of him. So they come through turn 5 and into Big Bend themselves, but doesn't look close enough for David this time. He's certainly had lots of action of his own. Will Mungia has been in the thick of it. They want to get to the end of this race, but who is willing to risk it to try and get that one more spot?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big question mark here, is there's so many points to be gained from drivers who just had some very, very rough running over the course of today and find themselves a little bit out of position. And I'm wondering here how much David's going to want to put it on the line to get one more position away.
And some of these guys have just had a miserable day. John Gibson, Kevin Yokel, both having a bad time out there. And Ken Eskridge, we saw, had to make an extra pit stop, so not sure that he's going to have enough to jump either of those two, although it will be tight come the end of the race. We're watching that battle for fourth in the points and the battle for second in the points, and unfortunately it is quite complicated here at the end, but we'll do our best to try and get you an update on that. Meanwhile, very good run from David Palmer right when he needs it.
Yep, there he goes. He's going to have a little bit of a look here at the moment. Maybe thinking about it. Going to have to go around the outside there as Mungia is going to hold that inside line, and that's not going to be enough for Palmer to get it done.
But he put him offline. He could cut back here if he gets a better exit and down the front stretch. That is a great place to be. Indeed, he does. He's going to be able to take the inside. Will cannot chop him off. He's going to have to give way as long as David is clean through turn 1. He's going to take the shallow line just to defend, but it looks like he's got it.
He's got it. Well done there for David Palmer to get that done. That was a very, very impressive move. You heard me say I didn't think he was going to have it, but he was thinking 3 steps ahead.
Absolutely. So smooth move there from the 72 car. Next up the road is Neville by about 3 seconds with 12 minutes to go. These laps last nearly 2 minutes, so it's only going to be about 6 to 7 laps from here.
Yeah, it's really not too long. We don't often think of Sebring as one of the longer circuits in the country, but it really and truly is, Joe. It's a very, very long circuit around here, about 3.7 miles. I think when we talk about American racing circuits, that's really second only to about Road America.
Yeah, it's pretty far up there. Depends on which course you count on VIR, I suppose. And
That's
I know
true.
COTA is also pretty long. But we have drivers that are trying their best to see if they can claim that $250 gift certificate from Six Sigma Sim Racing. Right now, the only two with a 0X are Collingwood and Gerling. There's our leader, Mark Collingwood, so both safe and fast out there. Unfortunately, on the opposite end, De Silva and Yurtza are both at 14 incidents. Remember, there's a drive-through penalty if you hit 17.
Yeah, that's not great there for them. And another point about Collingwood up at the front of the field, he's been able to grow that gap over Adam Gerling, and that is 5 seconds now at this point. So Collingwood really looking like he is in pretty much complete control of this field.
Apologies, I misread my information. De Silva and Yurtza are not at 14 incidents. They are 14 positions gained, so they are actually doing quite well for themselves, up to 13th and 14th currently. And not quite close to one another to try and challenge, so I'm sure they're just trying to cruise their way to the checkers. Will Mungia, who we saw in that battle with Palmer's, trying to hold on, but David's eking away. It's almost up to a second now.
Yeah, he's got about 8.5 tenths here as he goes. I think it's pretty clear that David's got a little bit more speed than Will here at this point. Will just trying to hold on in that baby blue 907 machine. As you see him come out of the turn 2 complex down through Gurney Bend right now. Gonna bring that car along, and it is officially above a second here as they run.
Yep, so it looks like this one's in the hands of David as long as he just keeps it on the island and these final 10 minutes of the race. Now, let's see, it is about 2 to 3 seconds a lap under 2 minutes here that they've been running. Collingwood is coming around what looks like to be just under 10 minutes, but that to me says this might be very close depending on when he crosses the line here, because we might get an extra lap. And again, you got to worry about that with the pit stops here on how much fuel you decide to put in. What is the exact time as he crosses the line? A 9:50. Yeah, that is going to be right on the cusp.
And that is not what these drivers want to hear. Let me tell you, they do not want to have this coming up to it like that. You want to have a little bit of breathing room. You do not want to be in a position where you have to, at this point, realize where you are and back off, because if you start doing it now, it's too late.
Yeah, you need to have been saving fuel for quite some time. Komat's currently crossing the line himself. Kind of in no man's land, honestly, but he's got a top 5 to his name here. Started out in 14th position, a gate of 9, but he's 12 seconds behind Green and 7 seconds ahead of Boyer.
Yeah, he's got a good run here at this point. Komat's just basically cruising along here as much as he can, but you can see there, I love this angle that we're seeing from Steve Komatz's perspective. You can see just how much shaking and shuddering that car is going through the corners. That really goes to underscore what we've talked about, Joe, just how difficult it is to drive around Sebring and keep everything underneath you.
So the very lovely setup that he's got with the sort of dramatic angle on the third monitor closest to us will hopefully take him home to the finish line. Remember, this is the last race of Series 10, and then we get a bit of a break. Well, not the last, but last for this class. And it's going to be a bit of breathing time for these drivers to recoup and see what they can do come next series, or taking part in any of the races in between then, as they usually will have events here in PCA. Nice little fight here between Will and Long. Now, yeah, okay, so Andrew Long has caught up to Will Mungia here because it was Palmer that we saw battling with that 907 before.
Yeah, it certainly was, and it looks like here, unfortunately, I don't know if it's maybe just a little bit of tire wear that Mungia is dealing with or what it is, but he is off pace here as he runs. It's not exactly what he wants to see, and now he's going to be under heavy pressure from behind.
Oof, I mentioned about Gibson not looking good in terms of holding on to that 4th place. Well, he just got a black flag. He's already down in 20th. I suspect he's going to give away a couple more spots before this is over. Will this spot have to go away from Mungia here? It was getting close for Long, but he doesn't do it quite yet. Instead, he's going to try and square off the exit a little bit. No, he goes wide instead.
Yeah, I tried to do that move that we saw not too long ago, but it didn't exactly play himself out there. Ooh, a little bit of action a little bit farther behind. This is David Boyer trying to make a move on Curtis Crummell.
Yes, indeed. And coming down the front stretch into turn 1, who's going to be the bravest of the late breakers? Down into the turn on the inside, David Boyer's going to send it in a little bit deeper. He's got the spot. Crummell could try and fight back and cut back underneath them. Nothing doing, although he's also going to be awful brave there on the binders. Nearly gets into the back of the 25.
Nearly gets into the back of him there as here comes Andrew Long breezing on by Will Mungia. It almost looked like there Mungia just got a bad run out of the corner and decided to give up the ghost.
Yeah, he definitely lifted there, let him through. Maybe he's just in survival mode on this one, trying to get to the finish. Curtis Crummell, though, still chasing on Boyer. And, well, actually, Mungia is about 9 seconds up the road. That's a pretty long way, so I don't think they're going to catch him. But we'll keep an eye on that, as they've also got Christopher Costas, who's a lapped car, 3rd in line. So he should hopefully not play a part in this.
No, I don't think he would at this point. With only about 5 minutes, called it 6 minutes left to go, he'll probably find himself a little bit farther down the order. Hopefully won't get involved in this, but Joe, the way this race has gone, who knows?
Absolutely. It's going to be a wild one. But coming down, despite starting on the front row, David Boyer is basically just doing the best he can. And the best he can is looking like it'll be outside the top 10 as it sits right now. Is off track behind him. That was Curtis Crummell dipping the wheels into the dirt. Costas says, I don't care if that's not for position, I'm going by.
Yeah, he's just going to move it on by here at this point. Costas just wanting to be able to get by a little bit of lap traffic, I would have to imagine, and just see if he can move his way up the order.
So will he allow him back through? Is he going to continue to hold back Crummell behind him? Because Crummell certainly won't want a buffer between himself and his rival. George Poulos also just pitted for some reason. Not sure. Whoa! Into each other they go, down into the first turn. And thankfully they only hit each other. What in the world caused that? I look over and they're suddenly spinning into one another.
I think I have a sneaking suspicion here, Joe, that it may have just been a little bit of miscommunication coming down into the corner. There you see the big move in front, trying to block off to what will be the outside. Let's take a look here as they come down in. Oh,
Control.
Lost it.
Wow, that's a bit of a shame. I'm sure he wanted to try and re-overtake him once again, but maybe his greed got a little bit ahead of himself, and that cost him dearly. So we come down to 4 minutes left. It's 3:56 is our marker. There's 3:56. We're under it, so it's 2 laps to go this time by.
All right, 2 laps to go for all of these drivers. They've got to hope that they've got the fuel in the car to make that work.
That should be it. If he was there later, then, or wait, no, it should be 3. I've confused myself.
Well, I'm not going to attempt to do the math with you, Joe. You know how my math abilities are.
Yeah.
Here we got a little bit of a pass, though.
Yeah, this is Palmer, who's still having himself a nice little tussle, this time with Robert Neville, who is going to give it up. Palmer with another one. This has been a great run from that 72. We've seen him make a few passes now here late in this race.
Yeah, he's really been slicing and dicing his way through the field, and frankly, pretty impressed me here at this point. He didn't have the best run to start things off, found himself on the back foot a little bit, but up 3 on the day. That's a good run for David Palmer.
Okay, I've figured it out in my head. I was right that going underneath that 3:56 left means Collingwood has 2 laps to go here. So I was right on that one. Just suddenly my brain started to second guess itself, which is never good, as the 72 of David Palmer has not been second guessing his moves. It's been very decisive overtakes today for that car.
Yeah, it certainly has. He has just absolutely put the car where he needs to and has been able to bring his way up and on through. Good stuff for Palmer. And frankly, good stuff here as well for Adam Gerling, your second place runner.
Yeah, but will it be too little too late from Adam Gerling? He needed maybe just a little bit more. If Binkley finishes where he sits, that's not going to allow him to overtake him in points as far as I can tell. And we should get the white flag this time by for Mark Collingwood, who's coming out of Sunset Bend right now as he comes up to the timing line and across. There it is right there. 1 lap to go now.
White flag in the air for Mark Collingwood. He has got 5.2 seconds between himself and his closest competitor of Adam Gerling. It's just a matter of navigating around this tricky circuit one more time for the number 13.
Wow. So Gibson got a penalty. Crummell just got a penalty now. He was also one that was fighting for that 4th position. Where does this put Gibson? Well, Gibson's still in 26. He is mired down there. But it's it's going to be a game of scant few points there at the very end to decide who gets that 4th spot come the end of it, because they're all going to be scoring somewhere in the tiniest portions of that chart.
Yeah, they're not going to be getting that many points away from it, so we'll have to see how it'll actually play out there for them. That's going to require quite a bit of math here to figure out.
And Yokel's still down in 22nd as well, so Crummell might still be doing good, but he's losing a lot of points here, having to serve this black flag, unfortunately. He and Costa still have one hanging over their head, as overhead right now we've got nice views of this beautifully lit track here at nighttime, and Mark Collingwood is one of those right now, heading through Jean Debienne, getting ready to take a win. And I gotta even check to see. No, I don't believe we've had a win from Collingwood yet. In fact, his best finish was at Watkins Glen last week. I'm not sure the exact position, but he scored a 3:28. This time out, putting it on 3rd on the grid. He wasn't the fastest, but he kept it the safest. And today, that makes all the difference. With about a 5-second gap, Mark Collingwood is going to bring it home to take the last win of Series 10 in the sport class.
Flashing the lights as he comes across the line. An impressive run here for Mark Collingwood, and a good one for Adam Gerling as well. That should secure him that position in the championship.
Unofficially, Lee Binkley should be 2nd in the points as he comes home 3rd behind Gerling, and Green will be 4th. Komats, in the meantime, has himself a nice top 5, but he's 23 seconds behind the nearest car. So it was quite a ways away. And Charlie Boyer was chasing him down, just couldn't get him at the end. So Komats gets himself a handy top 5.
Good top 5 there for him. He'll be pretty pleased about that. We've got one last battle to keep our eyes on. Oh, at least we did. Peter Yerxa throwing it away there, coming down through Le Mans. I thought he was going to be able to challenge on Antonio De Silva up in front of him.
And, De Silva's, okay, I was going to say De Silva was showing a furled black flag, so he had to give some time back. It's a very good thing that Yerxa had that mistake, or else this one would be gone and De Silva would have had to give up that position. But they are going to tie on 15 positions gained, 12th and 13th on the track, respectively. That's going to take us to a quick break. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. break a little earlier if that's going to be the case. He's actually got a nose ahead as they come down into the braking zone. He's going to do it the hard way.
If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guests' lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange.
Welcome back to Sebring, and while things didn't kick off so great for the sport class, as you can see illustrated right there, eventually they got their act together, and especially Mark Collingwood, who comes away with his first win in the sport class. Adam Gerling may have taken second today, but he was beat to second in points by Lee Binkley, who rounded out our podium. Andy Green was fourth, followed by Steve Komatz in the fifth position. Charlie Boyer started this race in 11th, is up 5 to take a P6. David Palmer was 7th, and Robert Neville was 8th. And it was Andrew Long making up positions late in that race, finishing 9th. Will Mungia rounds out your top 10.
In 11th place, it was David Boyer, followed by Antonio De Silva. Peter Yerxa just barely missed out on that P12 at the line. Craig Smith was 14th, followed by Ken Eskridge, then Carl Boccieri, and Curtis Crummell, your last driver, finishing on the lead lap. Patrick Gill was one lap down, as was David Krutzler and Anker Bergzona.
There you see the rest of the field, unfortunately not having the best of days. Many of those drivers having incidents at the start of the race and winding up a lap down or more, as we're going to talk to Mark and see how he feels about taking that first win. Mark, congratulations. You had a little bit of those guys chasing you at the beginning, but it looked like you kind of had it your own way towards the latter end of the race.
Yeah, I was just happy to survive turn one. I'm not 100% sure what happened right at the start, but I'm sure I'll watch the replay.
Yeah, it's there was a lot. I'll tell you that. There was lots going on at the start of the race, but you take home this first win, and obviously it's good to finish up on a high note. What does this tell you, not only about Series 10 for how you performed, but what you expect going forward of yourself?
I got to say, it was definitely a lot of fun. You quickly figure out who you're racing. Tonight kind of felt like beating the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s without Jordan on the court, with a certain someone missing. But a win is a win, and I'll take it. Overall, season 10 was fantastic. It was so much fun for being my first season.
I say you shouldn't sell yourself short. You still had to get the job done. Now, the other thing we were wondering about is the pit stops were also a little bit all over the place. You seem to have a slightly longer one. Were you just playing it safe on fuel, or what was going on?
I think I was pretty slow getting into the pits. All I know is I was trying to avoid any sort of speeding in the pits. I know I was burning a pretty good amount of fuel because no draft, pretty wide open in front of me.
That explains it. Yeah, so you maybe had to take a little bit more compared to some of the others around you. Well, regardless, like I said, congratulations. You earned that win. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you some more in Series 11.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
As Mark Collingwood, your winner here today. As up next, DJ has caught up with second place Adam Gerling.
I have indeed, Adam. A well-deserved second place there. Avoided some of the kerfuffle at the beginning and found yourself being able to sit on the podium. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice way to season, but it wasn't without its scares right at the start there. It was a survival moment.
I can certainly imagine. I mean, talking to you in this car, was it especially difficult around this Sebring International Raceway in the RSR? What particular pitfalls did you have driving around?
It's a fantastic car. Sebring is always a slippery track. right? And this car doesn't have ABS, so I think watching the braking, was paramount to keeping the car on track.
Well, you certainly were able to watch the braking, keep everything together, and do a fantastic job. As we look forward into Series 11, any wish lists on there for you?
We've run some great tracks this season. I like the variety of cars. I like mixing it up between the races. So we'll see what Series 11 brings. But happy for more of the same, and also some more variety.
Sounds good to me, Adam. Thank you so much for joining us here in the booth, and congratulations on a great run once again.
Thank you, and thanks to all the broadcast team and our sponsors.
All right, Joe, that was your second place finisher, Adam Gerling.
Third place was Lee Binkley, who unofficially by our math should have claimed second in the championship with that run. But Lee, it looked like the universe had it out for you a little bit between your own mistakes and some of the lap traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. With mistakes made by myself and also involving traffic, I found it difficult to focus and get in a rhythm, and it kind of hurt me tonight.
Well, you still held it together, ultimately taking that podium position. Were you concerning yourself with that P2 in the points, or if it's not for the overall, do you not really concern yourself with it?
No, for sure. It was on my mind, and I was just trying to run a clean race and just stay out of trouble. And unfortunately, I wouldn't able to do that as I wanted by my own doing and other cars also. But it worked out pretty good. I kind of settled down the second half of the race and started getting a little more consistency, but unfortunately, a little too late.
We were talking to Adam about the next season with Series 11, if he has any hopes or any cars or tracks he wants to see. What about you? We've got the new Porsche 992 GT3 R out there, and we've got some new tracks. Is there any combinations that you're rubbing your hands together hoping we do?
No, not specifically. I hadn't tried the new car. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I do look forward to next series, and if I get to practice that in, hopefully can have good results.
Well, again, congratulations both on the podium and the second in the championship.
Thank you.
It was Lee Binkley in the 02, and I believe that's going to wrap us up for the sport class. But make sure and join us tomorrow night, because Thursday, June 29th, we have the challenge class here at Sebring, and we'd like to thank our sponsors for Series 10 before we go, which includes the Porsche Exchange and Six Sigma Sim Racing. Also, big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing and to our team tonight, DJ, Ryan, Cameron, and Dougie. Also, none of this is possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Brian Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Pete, and I'll see you on the track.